And a fucking hoe!
Train your bitch, motherfucker!
What's wrong with you?
Oh, you taking her side now?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Jira couldn't believe even her own boyfriend wouldn't help her. Realizing she couldn't fight back, she apologized and quietly returned to her room. Being humiliated just because of low earnings, she bit her pillow and cried, knowing she needed to escape or risk being abused by her boyfriend. Early the next morning, before he woke up, she quietly got up, slung her backpack over her shoulders, and grabbed a frying pan.
Where you going? What the fuck happened? You don't shake your ass no more? Shaking your ass is how you fucking man. Now you sling burgers and you think it's noble? Don't drink, don't smoke, don't fuck. Like, what the fuck is wrong?
Jira didn't hesitate. She swung the pan at him. By the time he recovered, Jira was already sprinting away. Her boyfriend chased after her angrily, and she was pursued relentlessly. Jira wasn't originally American, and she had been trying to get a U.S. green card. The only way to achieve it now was by joining the military. Foreigners who serve 5 years in the armed forces can obtain a green card. At a critical moment, she ran into a Marine Corps training prep school. Her boyfriend tried to follow and grab her, but an officer intervened and sent him away. Once inside the gate, military law applied instead of civilian law, leaving him powerless. Jira could hide at school, but after class, where could she go? She had no choice but to sleep in the park while avoiding her boyfriend. That night, she had to work to earn a living, but her boyfriend's group was waiting outside her shop. Terrified, Jira didn't dare leave until everyone had finished and gone home. The captain demanded that the woman remove all her clothes, leaving nothing on. Anyone unaware might think the captain had a peculiar fetish. During the previous operation, an undercover agent's tattoos had exposed her identity, so this time he had to carefully select female operatives, inspecting every inch of their skin.
From cigarettes. Turn. Those are from an extension cord. Should answer your question about how much.
Next came the skills assessment. Even against male soldiers, Jila showed no weakness. Her combat abilities and ferocity did not go unnoticed by the captain.
You'll do. Get packed. We leave 0600.
The mission was to find the wives, lovers, and daughters of terrorists, befriend them, gain their trust, and ultimately locate and eliminate the target through them. Today, she was assigned to approach the daughter of a wealthy businessman. Interacting with such a wealthy person required her to dress fashionably. On the way, she also reinforced vital information in her mind.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about her or who she's with. Look at me. You're not supposed to.
A carefully orchestrated, coincidental encounter, combined with Jila's intelligence, quickly allowed her to strike up a conversation with the target's daughter. The captain, originally responsible for support, could only wait at this point.
The man gave the wall a casual punch, and to his complete surprise, pulled out a stack of cash. His teammates immediately jumped in, hammering away at the entire wall. As chunks of plaster fell away, bundle after bundle of money cascaded to the floor. None of them had ever seen this much cash in their lives. They scrambled to stuff the bills into bags, working frantically with hands flying everywhere. But before they could even finish loading what they'd found, they realized they'd been thinking too small. Money was hidden inside walls throughout the entire place. Even after filling their van to capacity, there was still more than they could possibly take. This was the hideout of a major South American drug lord. They'd been sent here on a mission to eliminate the cartel, but they never expected to stumble upon such an incredible windfall. Soon enough, they tracked down the kingpin in a reinforced safe room and took him out. After cramming as much cash as possible into their vehicle, they torched the entire compound. Just then, the guards who'd been out on patrol returned earlier than expected. The team quickly shifted into combat mode. As former Special Forces operatives, handling a ragtag crew of drug dealers was child's play. They plowed through the iron gates in their van and sped off into the night. Once clear of the compound, they called in a helicopter for extraction. But even this massive bird struggled under the weight of 2.7 tons of cash. This was $250 million in cold, hard currency. None of them wanted to leave it behind. In the end, they stuffed $50 million into the cabin and suspended $200 million beneath the helicopter and cargo nets. After crossing the tropical rainforest, they faced the towering Andes Mountains ahead. The money's weight was simply too much. The helicopter couldn't climb high enough to clear the peaks. They had no choice but to lighten the load. Reluctantly, they began tossing money overboard. Even after dumping all $50 million from the cabin, the helicopter barely began to rise. Just when they thought they might make it over the mountain range, the transmission, pushed beyond its limits, gave out. The helicopter began losing altitude fast. To To save their lives, they had to cut loose the remaining $200 million. The chopper crash-landed in the field. Miraculously, everyone survived, but when they climbed out to retrieve the $200 million they'd dropped, they found the local villagers had already surrounded the money bags. They'd clearly discovered what was inside. The team tried to reason with them, asking politely for the money back. But when one villager suddenly pulled a knife, they didn't hesitate. They shot the aggressor dead. Faced with this deadly threat, the other villagers quickly backed away. They found the village elder and placed $5 million in front of him, compensation for the dead man's family, and payment for 5 donkeys they'd need for transport. The elder agreed to the deal, but as they made their way through the jungle toward a cliff edge, disaster struck again. One of the donkeys lost its footing and plunged into the ravine below.
He tossed the burning bills into the pile of money with flair. Instantly, $300 million went up in flames. But as carefree as he seemed in that moment, he was in for a shock when he returned to headquarters. He was informed that he alone was responsible for repaying the stolen funds. Considering Hatch had served the CIA for 10 years, the CIA would temporarily cover part of the debt. But in exchange, Hatch had to carry out dangerous and complex missions for the CIA indefinitely. Because Hatch had to follow the CIA's orders unconditionally, they often assigned him missions with insufficient intelligence. This infuriated Hatch. According to the handler, this was supposed to be a simple intelligence retrieval operation. Yet the target turned out to be guarded by 4 highly skilled armed bodyguards. When Hatch, bruised and battered, stepped out of the elevator, he was met by a row of Corsicans armed with MP7s. Without a word, they opened fire on Hatch. Had he not reacted quickly, he would have been killed on the spot. Just then, he noticed a natural gas canister nearby. Summoning all his strength, he hurled it toward them.
Corsicans, huh? With MP7s. Well, we always suspected there might be another interested party. Only one?
When a weary Hatch made it to the underground garage, a group of Brazilians wielding machetes confronted him. Unarmed, Hatch quickly unbuckled his belt, wrenched a nearby metal pipe loose, and tightly wrapped it around his arm. Just like that, he fashioned a weapon that could both attack and defend. Even the handler was stunned by how unreliable the mission intel had been.
Brazilians?
Yeah,
With machetes.
sharp guy.
But despite the severe lack of information, Hatch still managed to retrieve the chip. However, after verifying its authenticity, the handler paid him based on a standard retrieval mission, not accounting for the unexpected challenges. This left Hatch deeply frustrated. But since the CIA was covering his debt, he had no choice but to swallow his anger. After settling the payment, the handler immediately handed him intel for the next mission. But Hatch was covered in injuries. He needed time to recover before taking on another task. His handler, however, clearly had other ideas.
Hatch. I'm trying to help you again. One, be very gracious and pay on your behalf when you burnt all the Russians' stack of money. At the rate you're going, you'll be paid off to the Ops shack.
Although the handler's words carried a hint of threat, Hatch was too physically and mentally exhausted to undertake a new mission. Seeing his condition, the handler had no choice but to relent and leave with his team. Finally free, Hatch decided to take his wife and kids on vacation to mend their strained relationship. At first, the trip was peaceful and warm. The family was reunited at last, singing together joyfully. That is, until they reached their destination, an old water park. Just as the family changed clothes and excitedly prepared to enter, a staff member coldly informed them that the water park was closed, and dismissively handed them a hot dog coupon as compensation. The joyful mood vanished instantly. With no other options, they went to a nearby arcade. It was filled with classic arcade games, and Hatch's eldest son Brady was in his element. His handsome looks quickly caught the attention of a girl nearby. Before long, Brady won the grand prize. As a reward, a flood of prize tickets spilled out of the machine. When Brady overheard a group of young girls worrying about not having enough tickets, he generously shared his winnings. Little did he know, this would bring big trouble for his family. Some local troublemakers noticed Brady's gesture. Without asking for context, they accused him of harassing the girls and demanded an apology. Faced with baseless accusations, Brady talked back on the spot. Feeling disrespected, one of the bullies snatched Brady's sister's toy, ripping it to pieces. Brady, impulsive and young, threw a punch to defend his sister, but was immediately stopped by security. Clearly, the security guards sided with the bullies. Ignoring what really happened, they accused Hatch's family of disrupting the arcade and demanded they leave immediately. Worried the situation would escalate, Hatch's wife urged him not to cause more trouble. Suppressing his anger, Hatch led his family out, but as they were leaving, his sister tried to pick up the pieces of her broken toy, only to be shoved roughly by a guard. That was the last straw for Hatch. He could tolerate disrespect toward himself, but he would never allow his family to be humiliated. Just outside the door, Hatch claimed he'd forgotten his wallet inside the arcade. Then, pretending nothing was wrong, he turned back. A fierce confrontation was about to break out.
The man hurriedly used scissors to cut through a water pipe. Then he dismantled the bullets in his magazine one by one. He gathered all the gunpowder together, wrapped it up, and stuffed it into the steel pipe he had just cut off. Next he took off his socks, ripped apart his sneakers, and shoved the pieces into the end of the pipe. Finally, he inserted the muzzle of his pistol into the other end. He tightly secured everything with plastic wrap. Just like that, a makeshift pipe bomb was ready. But that alone wasn't enough. By now, the news that he was trapped in a dungeon spread like wildfire to assassins all over the world. For the $50 million bounty, they were all rushing toward him like madmen. He had to escape quickly. He grabbed a rock and smashed it against another pipe. As the water began flooding the dungeon, Ryan fixed the bomb to the wall. Meanwhile, the fastest killers had already reached the old man's house. They stormed into the room.
I would have looked.
Clearly, they didn't want to share the reward. They chose to search for Ryan themselves. This gave Ryan precious time. By the time they found the dungeon, Ryan was already underwater, fully prepared. Before they could react, Ryan emerged like a war god. Armed with nothing but half a pair of scissors, he slaughtered all the assassins in the basement. Then, using a corpse as cover, he seized a gun barehanded. Even when he was finally caught by the leader, Chris, Ryan still looked calm and confident. As the smoke cleared, Ryan limped forward, ready to leave. But suddenly,
Nice try, Pumpkin.
Chris had survived. Ryan couldn't help but marvel at the man's insane toughness.
Why? You want my foot in your ass? Ah! Shit! What?
At that moment, his superior Anna appeared. She had come to bring Ryan back for questioning. Months earlier, while carrying out a mission as a Grey Shadow operative, Ryan had encountered a strange agent. The man didn't seem hostile, and even started chatting with him.
You know I know who you are. You're Sierra 6. They didn't tell you who I am, did they? They never do. I'm Sierra 4. They sent you out to kill one of your own. That's probably not gonna make you walk away, is it?
Ryan grew suspicious, but judging from his stance, the man clearly wanted to finish the fight first. Ryan clenched his fists and engaged in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Beneath the dazzling fireworks, their fight soon ended. Looking at the dying agent number 4, Ryan asked who had recruited him. Unsurprisingly, it was Roy, the same man who had recruited Ryan. Even their training ground had been the same. Number 4 revealed they had all been deceived by their leader, Danny. He had defected only after discovering the truth. He then took off the necklace around his neck and handed it to Ryan. Inside the pendant was a USB drive containing all of Danny's secrets. Ryan accepted it, watching number 4 slip away toward death. Just then, Anna arrived. After hearing Ryan's explanation, she dismissed it as an attempt to sow discord. She snapped a photo as proof of the mission's success, and then left. Not long after, Danny's cleaners reached the scene. They searched number 4's body live on camera, but the USB was gone. Danny, furious, realized number 4 must have passed the necklace to someone. He immediately called Ryan.
What about pocket litter? Did you get anything off his body? Good. That you now have, that you like to give to me.
But Ryan no longer trusted him. He hung up, went to an internet cafe, unplugged the network cable, and inserted the USB into the computer. To his frustration, all the files were password protected. Determined to dig deeper, Ryan called Roy. Roy confirmed he had indeed recruited number 4. He didn't know what the USB contained, but he knew Danny would never let Ryan live. So Roy used his contacts to arrange a mercenary team to extract Ryan. Ryan trusted Roy completely. After all, after so many years, their bond was more like father and son. Meanwhile, Danny found out Ryan hadn't returned to base with Anna. Enraged,
Not necessarily.
Yes, necessarily. That knuckle dragger sweated me on the phone, he knows.
he ordered his top assassin Chris to eliminate Ryan. Chris, well aware of Ryan's reputation, knew he couldn't face him head-on, so he asked Danny for Roy's file, and decided to use Roy to force Ryan's hand. Soon, Chris's men kidnapped Roy's granddaughter. At the same time, Ryan drove a small tricycle to the extraction site. Under the mercenaries' arrangements, they prepared to leave Asia. Meanwhile, Chris confronted Roy directly. He showed him photos of the kidnapping, leaving Roy no choice but to comply. Soon after, the mercenaries on the plane received Roy's call.
You know the individual you're escorting? I want him terminated.
Come again.
The body and everything he has on his person.
Just make it painless. You understand?
Roger that. Good boy, thanks.
They quietly signaled one another and crept toward the sleeping Ryan. But Ryan had long been prepared. As a highly trained agent, he knew Roy must have been forced into betrayal. He just didn't expect Chris to act so quickly. The local mercenaries meant nothing to him. But in the middle of the fight, a gun accidentally discharged, igniting a nearby fuel tank. The explosion ripped a hole in the plane. With the cabin depressurized, the aircraft plunged out of control. Worse, flying debris smashed into the engine. The plane was going down fast. Ryan struggled to reach the parachutes, but a violent gust shredded the cabin. Forced to improvise, he clung to the cargo rack to stabilize himself, and made another attempt. This time, he finally got hold of a parachute, but with the plane spinning wildly out of control, could Ryan really manage a safe jump? He left his daughter alone in the car. Then he went into the restaurant to buy something. But just as he left, two modified cars suddenly stopped next to the car. The girl keenly sensed danger. She immediately rolled up the window, silently praying they hadn't noticed her. But their target was clear. After getting out, they surrounded the girl's car. Seeing this, the girl quickly abandoned the car and tried to escape. But she was caught by a thug sneaking up from behind. Facing the threat of a gun, the girl desperately called for her father, but at that moment her father was still ordering food, completely unaware of the commotion outside. Soon the gang leader arrived with one of his men. The girl, seeing this, quickly began to beg for mercy.
I don't have any money. I don't have anything. I don't have...
I don't want your money, little girl. I want your soul.
Hearing her words, tears of fear rolled down her face. The leader immediately ordered the man behind him to pull out his gun, to take the girl's life. He witnessed a scene he would never forget for the rest of his life. The gang quickly got in their cars and fled, but the gunman was stunned by what had just happened. Seeing this, the leader abandoned him and escaped alone, leaving him to be tackled by the girl's father. John quickly tore off the thug's mask. Realizing the danger, the thug immediately broke free from John's grip, but the rest of the gang had already fled. He could only run blindly toward the street. As expected, he was intercepted by the police. Seeing there was no chance of escape, the thug finally raised his hands and surrendered to the law. Meanwhile, John stood up holding his daughter, crying in grief. He quickly called to the police to get an ambulance. Soon the girl was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment, but the expression on the doctor's face as he walked out of the emergency room shattered their hope. Once a happy family of three was suddenly covered by a dark shadow. To seek justice for his daughter, John put aside his grief and immediately went to the prosecutor's office to consult the prosecutor. But the result left him deeply disappointed. They only acknowledged charges of assaulting police and resisting arrest, but not a single word about John's daughter. It turned out the gang had chosen a part of the street without surveillance cameras, and because of the gang's reputation, the only witness willing to testify was John himself. Based on the current evidence, the suspect could only be sentenced to at most 3 years in prison. This left John furious.
He murdered my daughter.
But since all the evidence had been erased, she was powerless. What made John even angrier was learning the truth. His daughter's death was merely part of a gang initiation ritual. Every new member had to stain their hands with blood to become an official member of the gang. Upon hearing the truth, John was nearly driven insane with rage, and in court, as the plaintiff, John looked at the defendant's eyes full of arrogance and no remorse. He wished he could cut him into 1,000 pieces. And to personally avenge his daughter, John chose to withdraw the lawsuit. This completely shocked the prosecutor beside him. She looked at John in confusion, but at that moment, John had already made up his mind. Since the law could not bring justice, he would do it himself, to seek justice for his daughter. Unaware, the thug was overjoyed when he heard the news. After the trial, he eagerly ran out to celebrate with the gang. Little did he know his life was already in countdown. It turned out John was a retired Marine. He was skilled in all kinds of combat and firearms. He immediately contacted a motel owner who had long suffered from the gang. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. John successfully purchased a large amount of unregistered firearms from him. Then he got hold of an unregistered car. After extensive training, on a dark and windy night, John brought a bouquet of flowers to his daughter's grave. He knelt down and placed the bouquet in front of her tombstone. His eyes filled with tears as he gazed at her name, as if he could still see her lively figure when she was alive. He was overwhelmed with grief. Slowly he stood up. He looked at his daughter's tombstone, then looked at the pistol in his hand, and resolutely set foot on the road of vengeance. Then he slowly opened the car door, staring coldly at the thug. Seeing the thug lose his ability to move, John calmly walked to the trunk and pulled out his daughter's favorite baseball bat. As a member of the school baseball team, his daughter should have had a bright future, but now because of these scum of society and a ridiculous ritual, her life was cut short. How could John possibly forgive him?
do this. Still going back for you, asshole.
Killed my little girl. She was innocent.
Yeah? Sure about that? Huh? Look pretty good to me.
John raised the bat, and he immediately threw the bat, dripping with jam, into the trunk, then quickly got back into the car and left. Soon he returned to his garage, and he already had a plan for dealing with the evidence. He took out a large bucket of bleach and poured it over the car, then used rags soaked with bleach to carefully wipe down the baseball bat. After finishing everything, he collected all the rags and hid them away. Then he put on a coat and calmly returned home as if nothing had happened. Soon after, the police discovered the thug's body, and the gang members rushed over upon hearing the news. Seeing their man wrapped in a body bag, the leader was furious. He felt his dignity had been challenged, but he had no idea the thug's death was just John's first step. From the moment he learned the cause of his daughter's death, he had already decided to wipe out the entire gang. Never seen a man so arrogant. Even with a gun pointed at his head by the enemy, he calmly pressed his watch, giving the crime boss in front of him 9 seconds to repent, because 9 seconds was enough for him to take them all out. Facing the fallen crime boss, McCall calmly picked up the shotgun. He wanted this scum, who cheated old men out of their pensions, to truly taste despair. After punishing the group, McCall left the dark basement. In the car, he found the crime boss's grandson, but since he was so young, McCall didn't plan to kill him. Yet he didn't understand that to cut weeds, you must pull out the roots. In panic, he still couldn't bring himself to pull the trigger. He fought to stay conscious, making it onto the ferry, but the bullet had already pierced his organs. From massive blood loss, he fell into unconsciousness. Fortunately, after reaching shore, he was discovered by patrolling officers. Due to the emergency, he was rushed to the nearest town doctor's home. After the doctor's desperate efforts, McCall narrowly survived.
John ha salvato la vita. Allora io le chiedo, ha salvato un uomo buono o un uomo cattivo?
I don't know, no.
Though the doctor received no clear answers, he sensed McCall bore no ill intent. With the doctor's careful care, McCall's wounds healed quickly, and then he realized he had arrived in a peaceful little town. The people here were warm and kind, and the scenery was beautiful. It made McCall think of retiring here. But where there is light, there is also shadow. One day while out walking, McCall discovered a group of thugs collecting protection money. Even from outside the shop, he could hear the screams of the beaten owner. And even after taking a beating, the owner still greeted McCall warmly when he walked out. This made the crime fighter McCall unable to sit still. He memorized the arrogant faces, etching them deep into his mind. It turned out McCall was a retired CIA agent. After suddenly leaving the battlefield of blood and killing, returning to a peaceful life inevitably left him empty. To fill that void, he used his skills to punish evil and help the innocent. He had once helped a female colleague get back her ring, and also helped old men reclaim their pensions. So facing these thugs bullying the kind shopkeeper, he would never let them go. Through asking around, McCall learned the reason this gang leader was so arrogant. It was because his older brother was the local mafia boss. Now they were planning to take over the whole town, turning this peaceful place into a resort with a casino. To achieve this, they began brutally oppressing merchants and residents. Just for refusing the buyout offer, the mafia boss even ordered his men to push a disabled father down the stairs. When McCall heard the news, he was furious. Looking at the doctor checking up on him, he curiously voiced the doubt in his heart.
I mean, when I come here, you take care of me. You don't call ambulance. You don't call police. You don't call Carabinieri. Why?
Remember what I asked you?
When I first come. Yeah, I'm like a good man.
You said you did.
I don't know.
And this only strengthened his resolve to punish evil and bring justice for the townspeople.
My bookkeeping method is a little sloppy.
Clearly you're under the impression that you can have the show with Ruby for a steal. I am not to be trifled with.
Jack stole the world's biggest ruby. He never steals stuff himself. He always uses bomb collars to threaten hostages into stealing for him. Oliver wanted to catch Jack, but they didn't have any leads on Jack. So Felicity made a hacking device. Oliver went into the police station, secretly put the hacking device in a detective's phone. They quickly got Jack's file. Felicity figured out his pattern for stealing. Jack only steals one specific type of jewelry. Oliver decided to buy that kind of jewelry and hold a charity auction to lure Jack into stealing it.
Where are we gonna get our hands on a rare Spanish and Tiffany?
You really have no idea how rich his family is, do you?
Oliver didn't set up any security measures. Stealing this jewelry would be super easy. Jack showed up in person just like they thought. He easily stole the jewelry. But Felicity had put a tracker in the jewelry. She found Jack.
That brooch was donated by the Queen family.
I thought I'd just take it.
I think I have a problem.
Oliver told Felicity to calm down, started tracking Jack's location. Then he got on his motorcycle, quickly caught up to Jack, and blew up his car. Jack threatened Oliver using the bomb on Felicity.
Not this time. Your median nerve's been severed. You couldn't push that button if you tried.
Why are you doing this? I only steal from the rich.
I'm not Robin Hood.